Okay gang, time for a little woodworking. We need to prepare the hull for the deck. The first step is to install deck beams, which help shape the deck. At Chesapeake Lightcraft, we make deck beams by laminating thin plywood over a mold. These come with the kit, or you can easily make them at home using scrap plywood in the plans and instructions. In any case, the deck beam is going to be too long, so you're going to have to trim it to fit. That requires a compound bevel. First, I'll mark the deck beam with a straight edge on the side and the top. I always use a sharp Japanese-style cutoff saw for this cut. Perfect fit, first try. The deck beam is held in place with a dab of epoxy and a bronze wood screw. Carefully pre-drill for the screw. There's a smaller deck beam up near the bow. Fit it in the same way. The deck curves over the frames and bulkheads and is fastened to the shear clamp. I'll demonstrate with a scrap of plywood. You'll notice right away that the shear clamp needs to be angled to take the deck. To do that, you'll need a special template, a sharp block plane, and some elbow grease. Here's how we do it. From the deck beam forward, the deck has a 16-inch radius. I'll put the 16-inch radius template across the shear clamps, and it'll tell me exactly how much I need to shave away with my plane out here. You'll notice as I move up the boat that the angle or bevel of the shear clamps changes from bow to stern. The template will tell you exactly how much. The stern has a lower radius, 24 inches on this Chesapeake kayak. That template works from the aft bulkhead all the way to the stern. That leaves a section between the deck beam and the aft bulkhead that rolls from the 16-inch radius to the 24-inch radius. There's no template for that, you just need to use your eye. Don't forget to step back from the boat once in a while to make sure that you're not planing a hump or a bump into the shear. Okay, I have my 16-inch radius from the cockpit forward, my 24-inch radius from the cockpit aft, and a smooth transition in between. The epoxy end pours reinforce the bow and stern. I'll put in a temporary cardboard dam and pour in epoxy thickened with wood flour. While the glue dries, we can jam. Okay, let's get the deck panels ready. Although the Chesapeake 16 is less than 16 feet long, the deck is in 3 pieces. This allows us to keep the joints on the varnished deck very small. There's a little tab up at the bow, which is put together with a scarf just like the hull panels. In the middle of the boat is a simple butt joint. This allows us to install the deck in 2 sections, which is a lot less hectic than one gigantic piece. Once we install these decks, we'll never be able to get at their undersides again, so choose the prettiest sections of grain for the top and roll clear epoxy onto the underside of the deck. Don't let this dry though, because the deck will be too stiff to install. Now, we always start with the stern deck. I've applied epoxy thickened to a mustard consistency with silica. A tie-down strap is useful for holding the deck down. We're going to hold down the deck with these bronze boat nails, sometimes called ring nails because of the annular teeth. It's quick, strong, and the row of nails looks neat on the boat. Because the deck is wider than the hull, you can't tell where the center of the shear clamp is, so we have this little nailing guide to indicate the center. I'm going to make some marks with the nailing guide, then start driving nails. Send in a few on one side, then a few on the other, and keep it even all the way back. You'll see the nailing guide also serves to set the distance between the nails, about 3 inches. The forward deck has a pretty good bend in it, and there's some tricks to make it go easy, including having a helper like Carrie. First, use tie-down straps to bend the deck in place. The straps should go at the forward bulkhead and at the deck beam. This ensures that we've got the right radius on the deck. At the butt joint in the cockpit area, let the forward deck overhang the aft deck by about 1/4 inch. You'll understand why in a few moments. Start nailing at the deck beam and move forward equally on both sides, 6 or 8 nails at a time. Back at the cockpit, we want this butt joint to look pretty under varnish. Take a very sharp utility knife and trim the deck like this. How about that? Perfect fit. A couple of more chores yet. We need to install butt blocks to reinforce the butt joint where the decks meet. Spread a little glue on the plywood block and clamp it in place like so. Don't worry about the shape of the cockpit cutout just yet. We'll trim that up when we install the cockpit later. One final trick before we finish up for the night. Turn the boat over. Yeah, like that. In spite of our best efforts, there may be some little gaps between the hull and the deck. At best, these can be unsightly. If the boat turned over, you can let gravity work for you and the glue will flow back down into the joints. You can even take some leftover glue and dab it in where you see any gaps.